Today I'm breaking down an action comedy film called Big Brother. Henry comes back to Hong Kong after being in the US military for many years, hoping to become a teacher. He goes back to his old school, Tak Chi Secondary. The principal points out he lacks teaching experience, but when he shows a letter of recommendation from a higher up, he gets the job. Before Henry leaves, the principal tells him his class is one of the worst in the school. On his first mornings, Henry walks in to find total chaos. Some students sleep, others sing Z's. Some play video games, while many are cooking instant noodles on a portable stove. Even after the teacher enters, they totally ignore him and keep doing their stuff. Henry tries to grab their attention, but they act like they don't hear him. He gives up trying to redirect them and walks around commenting on what they're doing. He tells the students cooking to eat less ramen because it's high in sodium. Then he goes to a guy named Zufa playing ukulele and helps him out. Similarly, he warns a kid gaming about radiation from staring at the screen all day. Jeez. If that's even real, then it's already too late for all of us. When the students finally start paying attention, he introduces himself and writes his name and phone number on the board. The students laugh because his handwriting is messy. Then, a student calls him and tells him to leave the class, but Henry just brushes it off. The kids ignore him again and go back to what they were doing, fed up. Henry uses a rubber band and a piece of chalk to set off the fire sprinkler. The students scatter to avoid getting wet. He finally gets their full focus and officially welcomes them to his class. Go into the hall. Welcome to my class. After class, 5 of the lowest performing students gather in the sports equipment room to smoke. The leader, Jack, has a crush on an A student from another class. The others catch him staring at her photo and tease him. This group has a rivalry with the rich spoiled kids on the basketball team. They enter the supply room and mock Jack as usual for being poor. Later, the basketball team practices while Jack and his friends watch nearby. Jack drops a bottle on the court, causing the team leader to trip. The group laughs. The group erupts in laughter, but detention is given by the school's English teacher, Miss Liang. To avoid detention, they pull a prank on her and flee while she cleans her desk. Elsewhere, the principal is upset since the education board intends to cut 20% of their yearly funding. Board members visit the school to check how the funds are spent. At the same time, Henry walks into the classroom where the students placed a bucket of water to prank him, but his reflexes are quicker than the falling bucket, so he shoves it aside. The students expecting to laugh at him are stunned. Henry asks Jack for his pack of smokes, aware that Jack smokes. Jack just gives him the pack, curious about what Henry will do next. Then Henry tells Zufa to list the 3 ingredients in a cigarette. When Zufa gives the right answer, he gets permission to leave class for the day. All students start pounding on their desks, demanding the same right to skip class. When they quiet down, he passes each student a cigarette and tells them to examine it. Henry knows that if he only talks about health effects, they won't heed it. Instead, he asks them about smoking consequences and describes how tar builds up in their lungs. For once, they listen to the teacher and genuinely want to learn. When the bell rings, he tells them to give back the cigarettes, and the students reluctantly comply. In the cafeteria that day, the basketball team captain makes one of Jack's friends, Bruce, trip on his leg. This sparks an argument between the two groups, which quickly becomes a brawl. They hurl food and tables at one another, wrecking the place. Later, Henry learns that 5 of his students got suspended temporarily for instigating the fight. Henry spots Jack brawling with his opponent in the hallway and breaks it up. When asked to cool off, Jack blames the school for unfairness since the rich students face no consequences. After school that day, Henry reviews the records of all 5 students to learn more about them. The first student is Zufa, the son of a Pakistani immigrant who faces constant racial discrimination. Local cops often accuse him of theft. Zufa's sole dream is to become a musician. The second student is a girl called Dinan. Her father found her a disappointment from birth since he always wanted a son. All her life, Dinan has tried to earn her father's respect. She even cut her hair short and played with toy cars to act like a boy. Yet her father ignores her while spoiling her younger brother. Next are 2 brothers, Bruce and Chris. Their mother left with another man when they were young, which made their father become an alcoholic. Growing up, the 2 brothers only had each other to lean on. Bruce turned to video games heavily to escape real life. Chris worked long hours at a grocery store to support the family. Finally, Henry can't find any details about Jack's family background. In the next scene, Jack is shown working as a waiter in a restaurant. An MMA fighter, Zhang Ying, shows up at the restaurant with his business partners. While Zhang Ying's attention is elsewhere, Jack swipes his expensive lighter, but gets caught. As he checks Jack's ID, Zhang Ying's men rough him up. When they learn he's a student, he hands him cash and offers him a gig delivering food for them. Elsewhere, Henry goes to Zufa's place and finds him fleeing from his dad and crew. After swiping a ticket, he initially helps him, but once he learns the reason for the chase, he sides with the father. Then the 2 of them hang out at a bridge to encourage Zufa to go after what he wants. Henry joins a street band and starts singing. A few moments later, Zufa steps up and sings in public for the first time since the bullying he faced years ago. Meanwhile, Bruce and Chris's dad arrives home late. As usual, and demands they get him a beer from the store. When the brothers say no, he yells at them to get out of his house. The following day, Henry talks to their dad and convinces him to go to rehab for his boys. In the meantime, Danon's dad gives her a bag of makeup and tells her to act like a girl for once. Danon gets mad at him for always making her feel not good enough. She puts the makeup on her little brother, then grabs the car keys and sneaks out. She's about to take off in her dad's car, but Henry stops her just in time. He points out driving without a license is illegal and offers another idea. After that, they head to a go-kart track. Henry also invites her dad and sets up a race between them. The father and daughter race aggressively and end up off the track. All of a sudden, Danon's go-kart gets hit by another vehicle, but she manages to avoid the crash. Not knowing this, her dad breaks down crying, grieving what he thinks is his daughter's death. Danon realizes he truly loves her and gives him a hug. The next day, at school, Bruce and Chris, along with a group of classmates, are sent to a rehab center to interview someone recovering from alcoholism. They're shocked to find out the person they're supposed to interview is their own dad. The students ask him how he started drinking. He replies that he deeply loved his wife. She left him when he was at rock bottom. That's why he turned to drinking and neglected his 2 kids. The guy refuses to admit Bruce and Chris are his sons, but he apologizes to them. In the end, both brothers end up crying. Elsewhere, Jack starts working at an MMA organization. Jian Ying. He offers Jack a huge sum to spike a fighter's drink in the upcoming match. Jack hesitates but is pressured into accepting. On fight day, Jian Ying sponsors a fighter but bets on him losing. Jack drugs the fighter's drink, but gets caught red-handed. Before he can expose Jian Ying, he gets beaten up and locked in a locker. A bit later, Henry shows up and asks the fighters if they've seen his student. The man tells him to go home, but Jack yells for help from inside the locker. Realizing he was set up, Henry attacks them and easily overpowers them. When the fighters intervene, things get a bit tough, but Henry skillfully dodges their strikes. In the end, he knocks out their top fighter, who was supposed to fight in just a few minutes. Next scene, they're at a hospital, and Henry gets his wounds treated. Jack tries to spill the truth about Jiang Ying, but is forced to stay quiet. The story hits the news, and Henry gets recognized as the guy who beat a pro fighter to rescue his student. His popularity at school skyrockets, and students start showing him respect. They even stand up to greet him when he enters class. Unlike how they acted before, a flashback shows Henry used to be a troublemaker. Back in his school days, he even threw water balloons at a student playing piano for parents at an event. Later, he fought that same student and broke his hand. He got suspended for the fight. After that, he had to fly to the States. From that day on, students pay attention when Henry teaches and study hard for the upcoming college entrance exam. Everyone does well, except Bruce, who is addicted to pills. Turns out while Charlie escaped into video games to avoid family issues, Bruce turns to drugs because he can't focus. He does terribly on the mock entrance exam. Henry promises to help him, but Bruce gets more and more depressed. Eventually, he jumps off his balcony. Rushed to the hospital, he slips into a coma. The media twists the story, blaming the school and Henry for Bruce's actions. Education board officials interview Henry and decide to revoke his teaching license. As he packs his things to leave school, the students run after him, begging him to stay. They're devastated by his departure, but know they must ace the upcoming test to make him proud. From that day on, they study twice as hard to prove to the board that Henry is a good teacher. On exam day, Jack, along with all his classmates, get a text from Henry asking them to meet at school an hour before the test. When the students gather, they realize it was Jiang Ying's trick to trap them at school so they'd miss the exam. He's doing this to teach Henry a lesson. A little later, Henry arrives at school and discovers Jiang Ying's plan. He frees the students and fights all of Jiang Ying's men to protect the kids. They escape and rush to the exam hall while Henry fights Jiang Ying. In their one-on-one fight, Jiang Ying reveals he's the kid Henry hit with water balloons as a child. It turns out that after Henry broke his arm, he couldn't compete in a big music competition. Since that incident, he hasn't touched a piano and blames Henry for ruining his dream. Henry tries to reason with him, but gets attacked again. They both struggle over a knife. And finally, Henry has the opportunity to end his life, but he doesn't go through with it. He apologizes for what he did as a kid and walks away. The students reach the exam hall just in time and finish the test. Cut to a few weeks later, they all pass with excellent results. Jian Ying starts playing the piano again, but has a lot of practice ahead to regain his old skill. Bruce recovers quickly and promises to take next year's entrance exam. The principal is thrilled, because the board gives them a 20% bonus fund since their students performed so well in the entrance test. Henry returns to teaching and pulls the fire sprinkler prank on a new group of students.